Well, good evening. Bhavna's been very kind with me, as usual again. I don't have the type of the sound bite that Amol gave before this entire thing started. But then it's sufficient to say that I was with the RBI or I still have connections with RBI, and the blast happens there itself. Uh, I was told by Amol and Ashish that I have to give a keynote address and 15 minutes or so. Uh, I can go on longer than that. But what I did was this time I thought I'll do something different. And before I came in here, used one of those AI tools and tried to say, what is the keynote address speaker going to talk about today? I didn't tell it is me who is actually giving this. And it indeed told me, well, one can expect based on past, AI has multiple input sources. And it said that Ganesh is going to talk about this. This is what you can expect. This is what he will talk about. And one, two, three, four. And you know what caught my attention was he's going to talk about the use of AI in risk management, which possibly is because the title is given there and what it is, it said. Then I did one small thing. You know how we can actually make some changes in that. So I said, what if instead of risk management, it is going to be how do we prevent risk? So that risk is not there and how can you take care of that? Can AI handle something like that? The screen went blank for a few seconds and then finally it came back and said, uh, we do not know, but perhaps he may talk about how to ensure that risk doesn't exist. It just ended that way because ultimately all the AI tools or the models that we have are built by humans. And nobody, since Amol took that liberty of talking about risk, what if risk was not there? What if there is no risk in the world at all? Now, if I were to ask this question, what will any of you say? I'm supposed to do a keynote address, which means I'm supposed to talk. I'm changing it a little bit. Some of you can even try to be brave enough to respond. If there is no risk in the world, at least in the financial sector, what do you think will be what we will do? Any guesses? Will we have the standard, for those of us who are in the banks and the non-banks, will we have the standard role of accepting deposits for the purpose of lending? Or do we have to worry about, like we were discussing just before this about the rupee rate? And I was trying to say, like what the CEA said, I'm not overtly worried about 90. I'm not even worried about 100 if it happens, because by the time so many other things would have changed, but that's not the point of discussion today. If there were no risk, do you think the sector that we represent today will be the way it is now? Yes or no? No. Everybody says no here. I'll again beg to differ here. It will be yes. See, one of the things that I have found, at least in the Indian context, is that we can, if we find things are not going the way we want, we will make things go the way we want. And that happens right from childhood. When the child, a small infant which is born, if it knows that it wants to get something, either it will cry and get it, or it will do something depending on who the mother is or the father who is strong, or the way the child understands the emotions of the parent and plays along with that and gets what it wants. So if there is no risk, something else will come and that will be what will be motivating us to do our business. So what will change is that instead of risk, it will be something else. Now, what is that something else? Maybe we can talk about that later on. But for now, we have to accept that risk is going to be there. And you're all now undergoing the risk of having to listen to me. So what do we do to reduce that risk? Well, I will try to give small sneak previews into what the regulator is going to do. And that's what all of us actually like. If we can know how the regulator is going to think, we can try to actually make our deliveries, our products, our services, our approaches match what the regulator wants so that we don't have too much of deviation and we can do things the way we want. We think that is what we want. So we assume that this is how the regulator will move. And since there was a mention made about IFRS and the accounting standards, we all thought, okay, we have gone to Ind AS, everything will become okay. Then the regulator comes and says, no, that is not enough. We'll have to juxtapose that. Basel III norms. We thought we have done that. When Basel III norms comes, we come and say, no, from now on, provisioning is going to be done based on, what is that latest thing? ECR, expected credit loss, ECL. So point is, there is never a dull moment which gets to a point of stoppage. It is going to continuously go on. So how do we manage it? So what I will try to do is, as far as the AI space is concerned, I'll try to tell you how the regulator will perhaps move and then maybe towards the end of it, 1 minute as to what is really going to happen. So what is going to happen? The regulator, you would have already seen, there has been a working group, there's been recommendations which have come in, and the regulator has started moving ahead in the form of giving some type of tips. I'm not calling them anything else, some type of tips as to this is what we need to do. But as the regulated entities, all of us are, whether we are the banks or the NBFCs or the payment system operators or even the fintechs who, I don't know, today, those fintechs which are regulated don't want to be regulated. Those fintechs which are not regulated want to be regulated. It's like something very similar to marriage. Those who don't want to get in, and those who want to get in want to get out. I don't know when we will have a match for that. But the point is, the regulator is now not going to come out with those type of directions that we are used to seeing. In other words, it won't be a set of 10 commandments as is there in the Bible or whatever we are used to. It will be more like saying, if this is what it is, try to do this way. The wording is not that. And again, all of you may know, if the regulator writes banks may do something, the may means shall. It doesn't mean may means there's an option. You have to do it is what they mean. So the future is not even going to be may. It's going to be some indication, and the indication perhaps means shall. Now, how do we do business in that? Okay, the classic case is everybody talks about the ratios, the amount of money which has to be parked to the RBI, the SLR, the CRR, all the other things. At the end of it, people will say, where is the money for me to do my business? But we do our business. Not only we do our business, we make handsome returns out of it. We make profit, and we spawn a lot of institutions which the entire world is looking at it. So what's going to happen to AI? Now, can we use AI to predict what the regulator is going to do? Maybe yes, but like the prediction which I tried to see how Ganesh is going to talk today and it ended up with more or less a blank, most likely you will not know, because the regulator's approach does not follow any particular pattern, and therefore any model that is built in is bound to fail. Jokes apart, what will happen is two main things will happen. One, innovations and use of AI will go on. In other words, if we are going to expect regulator to say, use AI in this space or don't use AI in this space. I remember when cloud was being implemented or cloud was introduced, I had the onerous responsibility of saying that from the regulatory side, because I headed IT, to say whether cloud is good or bad. And we took a safe approach of saying, well, non-financial data can move to the cloud. And we said email and other things can happen. Little realizing that email is used for transmitting financial data. Okay, so that was a day, possibly a decade earlier. So today you won't even get such a type of guideline or indication from the regulator. What will happen is, and I'm sure here, is there any entity here which has not started using AI? Now, even if there's somebody here, you will not raise up your hand. So the point is, all of us do use AI. If you don't use AI, at least we use Copilot or something like that for taking minutes of the board meetings, which we hate. And that takes care of the AI implementation. Or we have AI in some of our customer-facing initiatives. We were talking outside about the type of interactions which happen with customers. I'm aware of some banks which are trying to move over completely from personal call centers to totally automated systems. Good initiative. Not sure whether that will be a continuing initiative. Much about that later. So point is, since we have started moving with AI, what the regulator will do is, as usual, find fault with what we have done. And wherever we have find fault, the regulator will say, thou shalt not do it this way, thou shalt do it in some other way. In other words, the guidelines relating to AI are going to be stepping stones on what we have done and not suo moto new indicators which the regulator will give. So that's the first one which is going to happen. So welcome to the new world of guidelines on AI. That's the first one. One more point and then I'll stop my bore. The second one which is going to happen, and that's what is going to be a little more tough for us, is that the regulator will not say that these are good to do or not good to do, or these are guidelines, or these are directions, or these are mandates. Nothing like that will come. So expect more from the regulator, that they come out and say, this is not how you should have done, rather than saying, this is how, if you do, we'll be happy. NPA classification, very clear how NPAs have to be classified. And those who do not follow that, the RBI will come and say, there is this reclassification that you have to do. Life is easy. We hated that, but life is easy. Tomorrow, RBI is not going to talk anything about AI. And I have a model, let's say I have a model which, I don't know how many of you have got, loan in a minute. And I think all of us are moving towards that, with ULI coming in, and no, there's a lot of pressure coming in, both from the government, RBI, and all of us. We want to do at least retail loans on the fly. So we need to know who the customer is, and possibly he'll be a new to credit customer. We don't even know the customer, and we have to sanction the loan within 1 minute. And we means it's the system which has to do it. There's no human intervention. And if the system has to do it, there is no other way to do it than use AI. So what the regulator will do is, we would have done it in a particular model. Maybe we would have sourced information, let's say from the rating agencies, maybe from Sibyl or Care. I would have got something. I would have got something else based on, let's say, his Aadhaar number to say whether he's got his own house, he's got some disposable income, etc. Or what is his demography, what is his type of business that he's doing in, or what is the social status. But what the regulator will come and do, you did all that fine, but did you see his WhatsApp account, or did you see something from the social media? Regulator and social media is something you will never expect. But the regulator may come and say, if you had seen that, you would find this guy is actually having some motives which are not good for a loan. So why did you give the loan again? Instead of saying, why did you not give the loan? They will say, the model that you created out of AI needs to be changed. So my gut feeling now is, instead of using AI for a delivery mechanism, try to use AI to even build up the model which builds up the AI. Going to be very tough, but that's what AI is going to do. Make life not easy, tougher. Everybody, including the AI people, and I'm also associated with some of the AI initiatives, we all say life is going to become easy. Mark my words, no. I don't know whether I'm the oldest in this group here. When I joined RBI, there was a group of people whom we used to call stenographers. I don't know how many of you know. We know steganography, but I don't know whether you know stenography. Meaning, basically, we talk and somebody takes dictation and then they type it out in the form of a letter. Computers were not there. When the computers came, and I was in Calcutta at that time, which was the city, West Bengal, totally anti-computers. And one of the tasks given by Reserve Bank to me was that I have to implement computers there, because I'd done it in Mumbai and Delhi. They said, go and do it in Calcutta. Jyoti Basu was the chief minister. Those of you who know Park Street, Oshbeno, I was not even allowed entry into that road where the building was situated. That's how they were there. But finally, we broke it. And you know how we broke it? The trade union leaders, we had a good chat with them. And the negotiation was that if you allow computers, your children will get a job as data entry operators. So the same thing which they were opposing outside, inside it got done. The rest is all history. Calcutta was the best IT implementing center across the country. So coming back to what it is at that time we said stenography will go. Yes, stenography went. A lot of people were learning stenography, typehand, pitmans, all those things. That job went. But what happened? All of us became glorified stenographers. Instead of somebody doing typing, everybody, whether he was the lowest level, a clerk in a bank or the managing director, was typing himself. That's what happened. And the same thing is going to happen to AI. I know many of you may not like it, but AI is going to make life more difficult. And where is it going to make life difficult? In analyzing the risk. Because AI is going to give a new risk which is going to come, and how are we going to manage that risk? And the last point, how do we manage that risk? And this is what I tell in most of the AI sessions that I handle. You handle it through what I call as CS. And what is CS? Very simple, common sense. Right? So if you want to manage AI, you need common sense. And that's where my view is that as Indians, we have got enough and abundant amount of common sense. You go to somebody in the US, nothing against any geographical reason, that person will know exactly what to do, what he has been told. He's a computer programmer or a human programmed person. Here, we know how to do what has been not told to us. So Amol was telling, getting into BKC is a challenge. But if you see, why is most traffic jams happening in India? It's because everybody wants to use an initiative and not follow the rule which has been given. If you have to go on the left side of the road, you will go only on the right side of the road. If you have to stop at a signal, you will not stop at the signal. Okay, so we know how to innovate. We know how to do jugaad, if I were to use the word, and therefore, abundant amount of common sense. And where are we going to use the common sense? AI will be there. The AI tools will be there. The AI models will be there. The AI outcomes will be there. And we'll have to use common sense, how to interpret that, how to tune it, and how to make it work. And that's where the regulations are going to be. Last point, both the AI industry and the regulated industry, there's a lot of feedback coming in that they want regulations. The AI industry also wants regulations because they want to know what is the boundary and which boundary they can work in. Suddenly, the DPDP Act will come and say AI cannot enter into it, then we have a problem. So, regulations are going to be there. But as I said earlier, just a recap, regulations will not be the way they are now. It will be slightly more uncertain, more anonymous, more confusing. How do we take care of that? CS. And how do we take care of that? Another point is common sharing. We need to actually, we are all competitors, but we also need to collaborate. As banks, as NBFCs, as payment system operators, anybody, the entire world needs cooperation and competition. And events like these perhaps will provide opportunities. Thanks, Amol, for calling me so that I could give my bhashan. But point is, AI is going to be there. AI is going to stay. We are going to ride the wave of AI. A lot of countries are saying that India has missed the bus. We have not missed the bus. We are like IT. We go, I was telling Radhakrishnan, it is better to buy a -1 generation system, because that is already, somebody has been the guinea pig and tested everything. We don't need to do that. That is what is going to happen to AI. And I'm going to see a replication of what happened in the payment space. The entire world was thinking India will never come up to the level in the retail payments. Today, we are the leaders. And I think in AI, in finance, and in the regulated sector, my dream is that we are going to lead. We will lead with a combination of AI and CS, not Gen AI or all the other versions of AI, but CS integrated into AI. With this, I will stop. Have fruitful session discussions today. And if you feel that what I've said is a challenge, please send me a message. I'll try to convince you, but I don't know whether I will. Have a great CS-based AI time. All the best.